By this time, the human was finished with his artistry, and the room was filled with the stench of burned cloth, fur and flesh. Raker had finally unclenched his teeth and was taking in long ragged breaths, the sweat matting his fur. The human retrieved a pair of scissors and set about removing the ruined uniform. It was often a matter of minutes. Raker didn't want to think about how many times the human had done this to become so proficient at it. Done with this task, the human once again looked into Raker's eyes and spoke. "So now, I stay aboard the ship with the commander and maintain the crew. I still am a terrific doctor, you know. Then when someone real special comes along, like yourself, they bring them to me, and I get to put the human suit in the closet for a while and be what I really am. Now, I'm going to begin asking questions in a moment. Don't lie, the machine will tell me if you are. Not to mention, I've been at this a while, so I can tell better than the machine at this point. Let's be clear first, I am going to kill you, it's going to hurt, and I'm going to enjoy it. However, if you answer all my questions in a timely and honest manner, you will die a lot quicker and cleaner. Nod, if you understand." Raker worked his jaw, stared the human in defiance, and spat in his face. "Go to hell, human. I'm not some lowly wretch. Do what you will, I can never be made to talk." The human reached up and wiped away the green spittle from his mask with a gloved hand and replied, "I hoped you would say that. Your species always has that kind of ingrained pride, especially the nobles." In his mind, Raker was panicking. The humans were supposed to be a soft, weak lot. Their very code of conduct forbade things like this. How was it possible? Raker was taken from his thoughts again as he heard the workings of machinery begin. "I hope you don't mind, General, but I find that the mirror helps put my work in perspective for my patients." Sure enough, a large full-length mirror descended from the ceiling, allowing Raker an unrestricted view of himself. He quickly spotted the dark blue insignia that was carved into his chest. He decided that seeing it was much worse than just knowing it was there. Suddenly, the human's face filled his vision. "Now, General, let's get rid of those pesky claws. I'm sure all the people you have killed with them would have loved to see them on the floor, and don't worry, I will take exceptional care of them in my collection, along with your fangs." Oops. Never mind that, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Raker bucked against the restraints with all of his might when he felt the human press on his first digit, releasing the claw inside. It was tantamount to suicide for a clonian to lose his claws. Shame and embarrassment would be all he knew in his society. He would lose his title. Had this human any clue what he was doing? "Stop, you filth. Unhand me, or you shall suffer a fate far worse than that of your breeding sows. I will watch you die 1,000 deaths." Raker's outburst was cut short as he saw the pliers whip backwards in the human's hand and screamed a second later when the pain caught up to his shocked mind. The human's blue eyes just stared, never wavering. "So, General, how about we start off easy? Where is the location of your main operating base on Eden Prime? The commander has been searching tirelessly so that we may destroy it from orbit, but it seems you are adept at hiding, like the cowards you are." The human dropped Raker's claw, still glistening teal, into a surgical refuse pan next to his instruments. Raker had not yet stopped his screaming, despite the machine administering its, albeit reduced dosage of anesthetic. "Come now, General, you must stop this. After all, it was just one claw. You still have 19 more to go. Please go ahead and say something witty, so I can continue." Raker muttered a string of curses. He could not let this dirt beneath his boot win, yet the pain was intolerable. "Go die in a hole, human. I will never betray my brothers." The blue eyes twitched back and forth as if searching for something. "Very well, General." It was then that the human struck like lightning. Raker didn't understand where this small frail creature found such dexterity and strength. A gag was in his mouth before he could resist. "Alright, General, since you clearly have nothing to contribute, I think I'll take some time for myself. We will revisit the commander's agenda in, say, 10 claws. Yes, that's a good number." Raker widened his eyes in shock. He watched in horror as the human reproduced the pliers and screamed into the gag as he felt each and every claw ripped from his body. The human never ceased talking. "You know, this is painful mostly due to all the nerve endings in your fingers, and the bleeding is more severe due to the vascular nature of the area. I was also delighted to discover that your claws are joined to your phalanges with tendons, making the removal process even more painful. Isn't that fun?" Raker was starting to get lightheaded and felt as though he were about to be sick. He wondered if he passed out, would the human notice? The sweet release of blackness would be very welcome at this point. He heard the machine at his side click and felt all traces of unconsciousness leave his body. "Oh, don't even think about blacking out, General. We still have 8 more hours until your first break. My little mechanical friend here will keep up the epinephrine just enough to keep you awake. I know your body doesn't make it naturally, but it still works wonders." Raker was crying like a school brat at this point, sobbing into his gag. 8 more hours. He heard the final clink in the pan. 11 claws in total, all of his primary and 1 from his right foot. The human filled his vision again, undoing the gag. "Now about those locations, General. Or do I get to take the rest free of charge? I do hate leaving you so asymmetrical like this." Raker couldn't stop himself. What could he do? Maybe he could answer and delay the humans enough to await rescue. Then it wouldn't matter what he told them. The Courage Mountain Range, Hill 45. That's where they are located. Please, please, just stop this madness." Those blue eyes blinked just once in a thoughtful manner. "Very good, General, the commander will be pleased. As a reward, I will up the anesthetic dosage while I take the rest of your claws. Enjoy the show." Raker screamed. "Please, for God's sake, don't." But the gag was back in place, and the general felt his body go numb from the drugs. He didn't know what was worse, feeling the pain, or being clear-headed enough to actually watch the human remove pieces of his body. 5 minutes later, he was declawed, and the pain hit him anyway as the anesthetic wore off. He screamed long and loud into the gag, whether it was more in pain or despair, he didn't know. The human carefully placed the pliers back on his surgical tray and picked up a bag of plain white powder, which he proceeded to slap onto Raker's mutilated digits. The general noticed the bleeding of his wound slowed to a stop. The human set the bag down as well and began taking off his nitrile gloves, his eyes forever fixed on the general's own. "Well, that was a great session, General. I say we take about a 15-minute break, and then we will broach the subject of disarmament codes for those pesky little anti-orbital strike shields your bases are so fond of having. I could use some food about now. Not all of us have a lovely little nutrient feed now, do we?" Raker groaned in response. "That's the spirit, General. By the way, you can call me Dr. Gaunt. In fact, I insist on it." Author's name and the link to original text is in the description.